Welcome to Coffee and Keys, where we blend our expertise and personal experiences to unlock your awareness of the real estate industry.
They're the best.
Here they are.
And now, here's your hosts, Darlene, Kemp, and Jacques.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Doing great. And we have a guest.
We have a guest again today. I'm so excited. Yay.
Welcome, Jill.
And a fun guest.
Excited to be here.
Jill is a designer who actually did some designing in my house, in my personal house in Arizona. She did such a great job in capturing us because we had no objections. One. Two, when I walked into the store, I told her what we were looking for. I didn't think it was possible. And, Jill captured everything and brought it to us. And she came over to the house. She sketched out a few things, and she did do it. So Jill is with Lazy Boy in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So when Crystal bragged that she got all of her new design done in her house, we had to have her on the podcast, right?
Absolutely.
She said you did such a wonderful job. Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah. The one thing that and we're not selling our house by any means, but the one thing that I said to her is, we've got a funky layout downstairs. I don't think there's a way to make it conversational. And she came in seconds, she spotted how she could, and it turned out really beautiful. We're very happy.
It's a beautiful design. We stopped by last week to see it, and it looks great. So really happy there.
So tell us about you, Jill. And just to go back a little, we're changing it up here. Okay. We're usually talking about loans, but we thought we'd do something fun and talk about staging, because sometimes sellers have to stage to get to the loan part, right? They have to stage their house to sell it. And then when they sell it, they can buy a new one, and most people need to take out a loan. Right. So,
and when somebody buys a house anyway, too, they're always interested in a little bit of design factor too. And they're, buying a house, once you move in, it's nice to know, where do I start? Where do I begin? So I thought it was a great topic for our audience. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, I've been a designer for about 30 years. I had my own business for a while, and then I took a design position with Lazy Boy in Scottsdale, and I've been there almost 20. So I do about between 10 and 20 projects a month. So in all those years, I've probably done around 3,500 to 4,000 rooms. So it's been a lot of practice. Work. I've seen a lot of, different types of rooms, and everybody's unique. So everybody's design is different. So staging is interesting. It's just an interesting side part of design in general. So I think it needs to be discussed for sure, because it is a little bit different than designing your home to live in.
Right. And so what we started with is, I know we normally come up with, what's some of the most common questions that we get, and what we think our audience want to hear. So we came up with 5 questions to kind of ask out the gate, and then I'd love for you to kind of lead us through the answers to the questions. So the first question is, what's the difference between simply designing your space to live in and staging your home for sale? So that'll be, I think, is a good starting topic. And then the second one is, when staging, do you feel like it's important to lose those personal things, and why? Because I know when it's our house, we put all of our personal things in it, but staging is a little bit different. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And I know Crystal could probably tone in on that when she talks about listing homes and such. But and then, what are some of the other items you should keep in a room for staging, and what should you remove? before. I've always heard you should like turn on all the lights when somebody's coming in the house. That you're supposed to go around and turn on all the lights for the house. So how important is lighting in staging, and how do you fix some of those things? And then tell us other important factors such as the furniture, accessories, flooring, rugs, some of the things that you would recommend for that. So I think they're pretty good questions to come
Gosh,
up on.
good questions, Darlene. Have you done this before?
I've owned a
Very
few
good
homes, but
questions. Very good question. So, what the first one? Let's go back to the first one. What's the difference between simply designing your space to live in and staging your home? That's an excellent question because, first of all, just to start it off, when I walked in that Lazy Boy, my nickname by my daughter was Beige Betty. Right? That's what she called me because everything in my house was beige. Right? So, Jill, what's the answer?
I do think, we all want our homes to be a reflection of us and our personality. However, when you get a home ready to put on the market, I feel like you need to kind of separate the home from those emotions of this is my home. You almost have to kind of detach yourself a little bit. And so when you do the staging, it has to look like they can move into that space. You have to give them the idea of how do I fit into this space. And it just gives, a first impression too. You want the first impression when you walk into that home to be light and bright, airy, roomy. And then also, I think rooms look larger when you stage. A lot of times we design rooms based on what we do in the room. So if you're, you're not, you might need more furniture pieces for that. In other words, if you have 5 people in your family and you need to watch TV every night, you need 5 seats. But for staging, you might only need 4 or 3 seats. So, and then I think it, again, just gives a buyer an idea of, what their life might be like in this home. So they picture themselves here.
Yeah, we've always heard that it's the emotion that sells, right? So you got to take your own personal emotion out of it as a seller of the home and be able to allow the buyer to come in and imagine them living in that spot, right? Yeah.
Yes, it's and that's leads to the next question, I guess, about personal items. Yes, everything that really any family pictures, it really has to just be packed up nicely and be prepared for the next space you live in, and that includes portraits on the wall. Also, anything to do. I feel like even pet toys, pet bowls, things like that, because they may not have a pet. That's a personal thing to your family. And if they don't have a pet, you get the sense of, oh, a dog's been living here. That's kind of that sort of look. Also, kids stuff, anything you have, if you have little kids, everything needs to be nice and neat and put away. Because again, that might be a couple with no kids, or it could be a single person. So, what else did I write down? Let's see. Yeah, kids stuff to a minimum. Anything that's like signage.
Oh gosh, really? Oh, I mean, like
live, love, laugh. And we're finding that we did a lot of that signage for a lot of years, and it's a little tired looking, I guess, is the way to put it.
Do I need to take mine down, Jill?
You need to take down. Also, anything that is more of a religious nature, and not because we want to take away your faith or anything like that, but it might, someone might be put off by, if you have I don't know, anything like that. It's just sticking point for some people, I think.
I do know that buyers, they form opinions really quick.
They do.
Really quick.
They absolutely do, yes. So I think any of those personal things they can get stuck on something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I had a listing not too long ago, I think last year. And so I'm the person that walks in, I'm the agent that walks in and I walk through the house and, maybe you want to change this, maybe you want to change that. But I do tell them up front, you don't have to do anything I recommend, but I'm one of those agents that are even across the board. I have just as many buyers as I have sellers. So, I know what the buyers' mindsets are, when they walk into a house. So I had this listing and they had all of these pictures of their kids on the wall, but those kids look like models. I'm like, I was struggling with that. I was like, take those pictures down, but maybe we don't want to take those pictures down because those kids are
like
beautiful. They look like models.
here is that.
We ended up leaving up the pictures because I was like, look, I would leave them up in my house and they're not even my kids. So we ended up leaving them up. We did great. It was highest and best. I think we had like over 30 offers on that house.
Wow.
They did very, very, very well. But I'm telling you, it was because of the kids.
They imagine them having gorgeous kids too, then, right?
Yeah.
Well, none of these things I'm saying are hard and fast. It kind of,
right.
You know what I mean? It depends on the house. It depends on the seller and just how that seller wants to present the house. And that's all very personal too.
Yeah.
So,
and and again, it's that emotion. I think that sometimes when they're looking for a primary property, that's what they're looking for, is something that's going to set the emotion. So as a seller, you just have to think about it from the buyer's point of view of, okay, if I walk in here and I'm in a different stage of life than you are and different things, I want your house to be as neutral as possible so as many people can get that emotional attachment when they walk in, because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
The more people you can get in, whoever's going to like the house and can imagine themselves living in it, you get a better chance of getting an offer on it, right, Crystal?
Yeah, absolutely. You do. As neutral as it is, and I don't know if I took that to heart when I did my own house. But as neutral as it is, you want it to be neutral when somebody walks in,
Right. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to take out all of the color that's there, or, if you have turquoise as an accent, somebody might like that. I mean, it's more the emotional type of connections that I think if you take out your personal things, you save yourself from somebody not liking your home because they didn't like the picture of the dog. I mean, it's
right.
That sort of thing. So,
well, it's funny when I walk into a listing interview, a lot of agents think, or sellers think, that they're interviewing me, and I'm actually interviewing them because I'm looking for a person just like them. What made them buy this house? That's who we're targeting.
Yeah, that's great info to find out.
Yeah.
So, but I do think the emotional attachment to the house, I think probably in your interview, you probably can kind of sense, are they ready emotionally to sell the house?
Right.
Because I think that part of putting your personal things away is starting to detach.
Right.
I have to be a psychologist with the design stuff, so.
Yeah, and I can only imagine that. Yeah, because when you set up your house, you kind of set it up for your style. And one of the things I know we've said before, Crystal, in negotiating contracts, is you never want to tell somebody their baby's ugly, right?
Right.
And so if they have an emotional attachment and they love their house and they've loved it for years and they've got lots of memories in there and now they're going to sell it, they do have to detach a little bit and take their emotion out of it in order to sell it, because otherwise it's going to be hard to negotiate a contract when you're so emotionally, still so emotionally attached, that, people aren't saying that your house is ugly or your baby's ugly. They're just simply saying that it's not the baby that I would have. so, so now you have to think about, designing your home so that, everybody can walk in and say, oh, what a beautiful baby,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Well, I think the beginning of that, and I kind of found this niche just recently, probably in the last 6 months. The beginning of that is having them pack boxes, at the beginning. So what I do for my sellers is I actually send them boxes. With my picture on them too, but I mail them boxes, and
Yeah, so
they all use them. I get the pictures back of the boxes, stacked up, because I think in the pack they get like, I think 6 boxes, and they get a Sharpie and tape and stuff like that. And so I always get the picture back of them, the boxes stacked. And that is, I get a delivery notice when they receive the boxes. I usually get that picture from them within 2 or 3 days
right.
of
Which is
receiving.
perfect kind of for our next question, because number 3 was, what are some of the items you keep in a room for staging, and what are some things you remove? So what are you kind of telling them, is what are some of the first things that you want to take away?
It usually starts in the kitchen, honestly. That's usually because
Junk on the counter, you
everybody.
mean? Or
Oh, yeah. I
put the
mean,
appliances away?
yes, the toaster oven. In our house, we got 3 coffee pots. I mean,
Right.
it usually starts in the kitchen. But when you walk in, and Jill, you're pretty good at defining. Gosh, I was so upside down. Things that I should have had downstairs, I had upstairs. Things I should have had upstairs, I had downstairs. I mean, she just flipped it around, a lot of it.
Wow.
But I mean, you're really good at looking at that and saying, move it around, or maybe you don't want it. I know you did very gently
They
and
say
told my
maybe you don't
husband
want
to lose a wall. Very gently. And he looked at you like, what?
Well,
the
I
I
think
love me the I love me walls.
But she did it very nice, because he got it right away. I couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
right. No, because you're too close to the situation. But
Yeah.
I do think it's just looking at it in a different way. I wasn't telling him to get rid of all his pieces that he loved,
Right.
but
Right.
they just need to be arranged differently for the balance of the room. So, and I love
Right.
that you send the boxes. How great. I would have loved that with every home I've ever sold, to get that from my realtor. That I just think that's
Really?
never heard of anyone doing that. It's like getting a box of cookies,
And it's funny. It's the gift that everybody uses.
Yeah.
And then it goes
They
across
gotta move.
country with a lot of my clients, I see it in the U-Haul. They're moving them in. Like when I just recently had a client that moved to California. She sent me the picture, and they're being loaded. My boxes were being loaded in her moving truck,
Aw,
That's absolutely great.
great pieces. Yeah.
So
Great
I would
pieces.
say, for what to keep and what to get rid of from each room, I would say, start at your front door. What do you see when you first open the front door? For my house, it's my main living room, my family room. And so I think what people should do is keep enough furniture that they can get an idea of the layout. So maybe they have a sofa and 2 chairs and a cocktail table and a rug. You can take out extra stuff, like, a lot of people have smaller ottomans, or they have other extra furniture pieces that might not be necessary for the staging. So, there's, and I'll get to some resources later, but that couple of shows on HGTV. One is Unsellable Homes. Have you ever?
I haven't
Never
seen that
saw
one.
that.
They're
I'll have to
sisters,
look
and
at
they take these homes and they put their own money in. They redo it, and then they sell it for a lot more money. But when they do staging, to me, it's way over the top. It's so much stuff. It's just a lot of pieces, a lot of accessories, a lot of furniture, a lot of you know, and the houses look great on TV, but
Yeah, trying to live in it. I often watch those shows and think, are these people really going to live in that?
yes, and I don't think personally that you need that much when you're doing staging, because I like the idea of spaciousness.
Right.
And when you walk in,
Sometimes-
you're not walking into the back of something. You know, you want to place your sofa so that the room is open from the entry when you first walk in. So,
Give people a chance to walk around and see everything.
yes,
the
yes.
flow.
So I always say just the basics, you know, pretty pillows. You might do end tables with a couple of lamps. Rugs are okay, as long as, you know, they're not. The other thing is things need to look neat and clean too. Sometimes if you've had your rug and it's light colored and you've had it for 2 years, just roll it up and, you know, if you don't want to get it clean, because there's, I don't know, that's the idea of home, you know, how have you kept this home? So I kind of hate to bring that up because it's not a nice topic, but, you know, sometimes you have beautiful.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
Right, right. And people don't really, they lose objectivity of seeing their own home. So, and I would even take a picture of the room and look at it from a picture instead of looking at it with your own eyes, because you can see things that you don't see. Your brain tricks you a little bit into, oh, I didn't know that corner was full of clutter. You know, you just don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
But to take a photo of the room and then look at it, that can help tremendously.
Yeah, that's a good.
So-
Of course, I've seen some photos where they forgot to like remove things like that, and that it is kind of like the first thing that you see in
gosh.
some of the pictures that I've seen lately. I know people are doing a better job than they used to, but I get to see pictures on appraisals.
Oh, girl. That's
And sometimes-
after the staging
The
pictures. That's after they move back in the house.
Yeah. Yeah, so we get to see it as they're really living in it. So yeah, so I know what you mean on that
Oh,
one.
gosh.
But you're right. You know, so I think the biggest part is too is you have to remember that these people are still, in most cases, they're still living in the house, right?
Yes.
So, you know, I love the idea of setting the boxes ahead of time that says, okay, start your declutter now and start packing. And we're
Yeah.
not saying you have to throw the stuff away; just pack it up
pack
for your
it up.
next. For your next.
Yes,
phase,
and
if that's
I
what makes
agree
you
with,
feel.
sorry, with kitchens, counters need to be clean,
Yeah.
because they get maybe just one or two things, but, you know, also the tops of cabinets, all of that needs to come down to, for staging, because it's, you know, it
Less is
just
more.
makes the kitchen look larger to not have all the pieces everywhere, the different, you know, clutter is a harsh word sometimes. It doesn't all be in the you know, doesn't all fall into the category of clutter, but again, we're trying to create that spacious, open feeling.
So,
Yeah.
Crystal, should they just throw it in a closet?
Oh, well, I've had that. So
Have you ever
when
had
I
somebody
do-
go walk? But don't open that closet; it might fall out at you.
let's see, next week, I'll be in Hampton Roads. I'm meeting with 2 sellers and 2 buyers while I'm there. So you can go through, you can sit, you can tell them what to do, but come picture day, and you know I hire the best photographer in Hampton Roads. I mean, without a doubt. I'm there about 3 hours before pictures. And let me tell you, I always go in jeans and sneakers because I'm putting things in the closet. You know, shoving things in there. I've shoved it in there and held it shut, and you know, moved on to the next closet. And I understand it's hard because, you know, the pictures are the first impression, and it is important to stage for the first impression. You know, that this is the impression that goes out to probably millions of people, because I mean, I'm with Remax. We are international. I've gotten calls from Japan and London on some of my listings. So they get those listings. So it goes all over the world. You know, so yeah, I mean, I'm guilty putting things in the closet
By the way,
for the pictures.
Yeah, again, for photographs, a little bit of color is nice, but you can do that with pillows.
Brights.
Um,
Yeah.
and so we stay at Airbnbs from time to time, and so an Airbnb photo shoot is radically different than a real estate photo,
Oh, I know,
in my
right?
opinion, because Airbnbs need to be quirky and they need to be,
Fun.
funky colors and
Mm-hmm.
fun. It needs to look fun. But I
Yeah.
think for a home listing, it should look just spacious. Again, I keep saying that word, but open and spacious, I think, is more important than
Yeah.
than being out of the box quirky. So
Yeah. They've got
It's
to be able to
funny.
imagine their own things fitting into it. So the more neutral, I guess, it is,
yes,
to be
hmm
able to see
Yeah.
their stuff in it. Yeah. You
yeah,
kind of know when you have somebody who walks in a house and they really like it because they're going, I could put this here or I could put there. Then,
yeah.
they're connecting with that house. And if it's so cluttered that they can't make that connection, then more than likely they're just going to move on to the next one. Right.
Yeah, when they start taking out the tape measure, I've had clients,
Yeah.
when I'm showing them homes, they have a tape measure, but I have a whole kit in the trunk of my car. So I have a tape measure, I have everything, a screwdriver, light bulbs, I have everything. I have everything in the trunk of my car. But when they start taking out the tape measure, and that's why I have it, because I've had clients that say, God, I wish we would have brought a tape measure. And I'm like, got one. Just give me 5 minutes. I'll be right back. When they start measuring for couches and beds, they're bonding with it. And then that's when I start looking around like, okay, does it have a fireplace? And start really paying attention to what's there, inside the house in case we write an offer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Number 4 was I've always heard you should turn on all the lights before someone comes over to look at your house. So, how important is the
Woo.
lighting and staging?
Do
Well,
you do that?
welcome to my world.
Yes. Again, dark homes don't photograph well and they don't show well either. So I say yes, all the lights need to come on, including the lamps, and open the windows too. Open the blinds, pull up the blinds or the drapes. Everything needs to be nice and open, unless there's something in the backyard that you don't want people to see right away. I don't know. Like, oh, there's a pile of,
Yeah.
trash out there, whatever. I don't know. But the other thing that's important is the color of the light bulbs too.
Ooh, good,
That's a
good
good
one, Jill.
Yeah, they're still using like an incandescent bulb, which is a very yellow light. And if you move to an LED that's kind of in the middle of the light
Right.
spectrum, it makes a massive difference in how paint looks, how fabrics look, flooring. The yellowy light really muddies up colors. And, we had a lot of Tuscan design 25 years ago, and those were already warm tones. And then with the incandescent lighting, everything was, and it looked cozy, I guess, but it was all very just
Dark.
really, it looks heavy.
Dungy. Dungy.
Yes, and so
Yeah.
now when you do the LEDs in the middle, that not too blue, of course, but in that middle spectrum, you really get the brightness, and then you get crisp. The fabrics and the paint and everything have a crispness that
Wow.
is attractive, I think, and really nice for pictures.
Especially if you don't have
Wow.
that sunlight that's coming in a window or something. I guess that makes all the difference to make sure it lights up as if
Yes.
it's airy.
Just by turning on, because when I walk in a house and it's dark, and I get it, not, sometimes you're in the evening, sometimes you're in the afternoon, sometimes you're in the morning. I spend the first 5 minutes trying to figure out what light switch goes with what light. I mean, you know, if you have the lights on, people, guess what that agent can do? They can have the time to sell your house, because I can walk into a fully lit home and say, oh, look at the coffered ceilings, or,
Yeah.
oh my God, that's beautiful. But if I'm running around trying to turn on lights, and that, we never know what light goes with what. I mean, I've turned on a light and a stereo has come on. Turn on a light switch and here's a stereo blasting, you know. So that is important. I know I try to strategically list on a Thursday or Friday, and I think most agents do. But if it's a Friday, I tell my people, why don't you just go away for the weekend? Let me do my job. You know, and I'm there. I go on. I go to the house. They're gone for the weekend. I go to the house before the first showing Saturday morning, and I turn on all the lights. You know, all of them. So everybody, and then when I get the request to show, I say, please leave all lights on. That way, this agent can do their job. They can walk in and concentrate on their buyer and your home. You know, and then the last showing, I'm running back to the listing and I'm turning them off for the night. And then the next morning, I'm going back and I'm turning them back on. But I think all of that together with, you know, and of course I have to get permission from my seller. Can I just leave your lights on all day? And most of them say yes. I think that helps a lot, you know.
It really does. It's the difference. Again, subconsciously, of someone walking into a dark house versus someone walking into a lit house. It's they already have an impression. It's that first impression thing again. You know, it's just makes a tremendous difference to have the house lit up. So,
and that's kind of all part of the staging as well.
Definitely, it is. I always thought, you know, design is great, but if you can't see it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
See the colors and you can't see the textures and all those things. It's you know, we're wasting our time. So the lighting is very important.
And there's a little bit of energy and emotion that comes from seeing the lighting too. That just kind of helps with making it feel warm and cozy. And
So let me ask you this, Jill, because this is one that actually I just on a listing I took last month. The seller asked me about this, and I said, you know, I mean, I've heard it, but I don't know if it's true. So should you bake cookies?
I've heard that, yes. So that is one thing that people will notice right away is the smell in the house. So if you have, you know, a cinnamon roll smell or chocolate chip cookie smell, that's certainly better than old trash or
the dog smell.
Or the dog.
The dog smell.
Smoke. You know, I have a very sensitive.
And your senses. And your senses have memory to them too. So again,
absolutely.
You know, when you think about, you know, Christmas time and the holidays and things like that, there's normally a scent that kind of comes with that. So just something like that. I guess as long as it's not overpowering, it's kind of like somebody who has really strong perfume on.
Yes, just more faint. And I like that smell better than like air fresheners. A lot of people are actually allergic to, you know, if they've sprayed the whole house with air fresheners. I get an instant, not instant, but I start to sneeze and I can get a headache from those because I have a little bit of a sensitivity. So, but I would not be sensitive to chocolate chip cookie smell.
Right. And it just makes it feel like home. Although, I don't think people bake like they used to in the old days, but it still kind of feels like home, right?
Yeah, you could always put something on the stove too, and I get rid of it before the people come, but like cinnamon sticks, an orange.
Oh, wow.
Throw a lemon in there, maybe some, you know, herbs of some kind or cloves, and just get that going. That's kind of more of a fall smell, I guess. So
or you just put your bacon in the oven in the morning and let it.
Yes, bacon.
Oh my gosh, bacon! Is that a good smell?
Well, if you ever cook bacon in the house has a tendency to have, as soon as you walk in, somebody's cooking bacon.
Yes.
Smells whatever that might be.
Where's the breakfast?
Smells that connect. Yep.
I've never thought that bacon would be a smell that I want to smell, but I mean, it is a good smell. I had bacon for breakfast this morning.
There you go. Yeah. Anything that just cook for you. Just don't burn it.
Oh, burnt toast. Ooh.
Oh, popcorn. Don't burn your
Yeah.
popcorn before somebody comes to the house.
Yeah.
No fish the night before.
Oh, gosh.
Or cabbage, broccoli, any of that.
Yeah, all
Oh.
those. Yeah. Yeah. But it's all
I've
the
never
things that
thought
trigger that
about,
emotion. Yeah.
yeah, I've never thought about putting a pot, what, and boiling? Is that what we, with
Just,
cinnamon
potpourri.
sticks? And
Yeah,
I've never thought of that.
Yeah, it's just with water. You don't have to do anything fancy, but it
Wow.
really gives that citrusy, spicy smell, and it's not overpowering.
Right.
It's very light.
Wow. That's a good one. So yeah, I was like, I've heard that you should bake cookies, but I don't know. Is that going to make a house sell? But if you want to bake cookies, you go right ahead.
Now, if you're
Yeah.
doing an open house, that's really, then
I
you
guess
got
if
nice
you
warm
then
cookies when they walk in.
right, and if they smell the cookies, they should probably find the cookies too. So,
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah, twofer,
And then they'll remember if they're out looking at 5 other houses, they'll remember having the cookie at that house and what it smells
Right,
like.
remember that house?
There you go.
Oh, we had
Remember
those cookies. They were so good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true because
Yeah.
when you, and especially inventory is a little high right now. When you're out there and you're looking at 6, 7, 8 homes, and I've gone
You
up to
start to
20,
forget.
20 homes in a day
Uh-huh.
before.
How do you remember them all?
We give them nicknames. The pink
Oh.
house, the
So you'd
cookie
be the
house.
cookie house.
The cookie house.
Or the bacon house.
Yeah, or the bacon house. The
As long
fish
as
house
it's
is out.
Yeah. No.
Eek.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah, but that's a good way to remember it too, by the
the
smell.
smell.
Because
Yeah.
we do
It
give
gives us
homes
emotional
names.
sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the cinnamon house,
Yeah.
or yeah, I like that idea.
So the
Sometimes
last question, the big one. Let's see. So tell us other important factors such as like furniture, accessories, flooring, rugs. What do you recommend as far as the actual? I guess it's the design part of it, right? The furniture, the accessories, the flooring. I mean, when you come into somebody's house, is it, what do you kind of recommend be in there at the minimum, maybe?
I'm a little more minimalistic, I guess. I just want the idea of a furniture layout that they could do, like the seating area facing the view.
Yeah.
There's sometimes just to rearrange the pieces that they have to just make the room feel more open. Again, taking out any bigger pieces that are not necessary, extra chairs. Things like that, cocktail tables that are extra large. You can pull in a small ottoman instead, or, there's all kinds of things you can do like that, the big bulky pieces, I guess. You have to have some. You have to have, I would say, a sofa and a couple chairs is the minimum, or sofa love seat for furniture. But for a middle table, sometimes some people don't even have a cocktail table at all. They just leave it open with a rug. The rug really should be in line scale-wise with the amount of furniture you have. So if you have a sofa love seat, typically you're going to want about an 8 by 10 area rug. If you have a rug that's too small, it actually creates busyness because there's a perimeter of flooring showing. Everyone thinks, well, I'm gonna do a smaller rug in here to make it look bigger, but it actually makes the room look smaller. So you want the rug to be under the front feet of everything, if possible.
I know the angle of the rug because I had one rug upstairs in our family room, and Jill came and said, "I think this is facing the wrong way," and I'm like, "No, it's not. I like it like that." And she goes, "Well, I think if you spin it around, I think you'll get more of the pattern." And I was resistant, but I did it, and I like it better. I like it a lot better. And you're right, it makes that room look a lot bigger.
Yeah, that rug is you can really see the pattern. I think
Yeah.
the old layout. For some reason, the pattern was interrupted or something. I'm not sure, but
It was. I think it was more under furniture, actually, than
yeah,
anything.
yeah. Neutral colors are always great, and then you can pull in, brighter colors in small ways, like pillows, even a little bit in an area rug, possibly. But I think neutral furniture pieces give a better idea of, oh, what could I do with this room?
Mm-hmm.
So, and also lighter if you can. A lot of people have, heavy dark leather furniture, and it was expensive, and I would say, well, that has to stay. But
Mm-hmm.
lighter pieces are always good. So, and you can break up a dark piece by putting a light throw on it, or lighter pillows.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then lamps, tables and lamps. Again, if you have smaller, like little tables next to chairs, just move them out.
Mm-hmm.
But end tables are good because you need lamps. Lamps is part of the lighting. Those are part of the lighting situation. But again, nothing on the table except for the lamp. No plants or a notepad and I don't know. I'm looking at my end table, figuring out.
Jill, spin that camera around.
I don't think I have a space that doesn't have something like a lamp or a book or a.
Yeah.
I know.
Especially my office.
Again, we live in our houses, right?
We do.
Live in there.
Right. And you're right. We have to look at it totally different of living in it on a daily basis or staging it for sale. It's different.
Yes, and you want the buyer to look at the room as a whole, not at that book sitting on the table. Right. That's the thing about having too many accessories on the tables and in the kitchen and places like that, is that the focus goes to the little things and not to the overall.
Right, and you want them to see the real house, the whole thing, is you want to see the bones of the house so that they can picture them. If they're looking at all these little trinkets and accessories a little bit everywhere, then they kind of miss the bigger picture. That makes sense.
Right.
That does make sense.
Right.
So I used to do Wise Up Wednesday, which, God, I had so many clients asking for it to come back. It's coming back. I just got to find the time to do it. But I did one on staging. And so I had the stager that I use in Hampton Roads. She kind of did a little piece there. And she said that homes that are staged sell approximately 15% higher than homes that are not staged. And so I really thought about that when she said it. So I'm like, well, does that mean somebody's going to, pay more because it's staged? But and the reason why I did it is because I had a listing that we were on the market like 77 days or something like that. And I had told my seller that we wanted to stage this house because it was a different floor plan, but my seller didn't want to spend the money. Mm-hmm. So 77 days on the market. And finally I said, now I'm going to have to get insistent and, persistent about staging, because I really believed that this house would sell if we staged it. So, I talked to my seller and they said, okay. And, we had to make a few concessions there, but they agreed to stage it. So we staged the house. Now, it did sell for more once we staged it because I had multiple offers.
There you go. After all this time on the market, and then you stage it, and then somebody comes in and they can see themselves living there.
Yeah. So I go, well, she was right.
Yeah, there are some really good staging companies in this area too, Scottsdale and Phoenix, and they do a marvelous job. And it's like a rental almost.
Right. You rent the furniture.
Not always as much as you think it's going to be, but it really. My daughter had her home staged recently last year when they had a big. It was a house on a mountain, and anyway.
Oh, wow.
But and they had it furnished, but they just knew that they should have it staged, and it was really interesting to see what pieces they brought in. Everything was coordinated, which I really liked.
Yes.
Art went with, but not it wasn't, and it was not overdone either.
Yeah.
So I really thought they did an excellent job. But I agree. I think it's I think the staging also helps to undo the personal look of the house. It doesn't become a model home exactly, but it does become, personality neutral. So
Right.
It just helps with the vision a little bit. Again, if you've got a vacant property and there's nothing in there, sometimes it's hard for them to walk in and see their stuff in there because they don't have they don't have a starting point. So I can see where just having some furniture in there again, it gives them a starting point to start visualizing how
right,
that room
and
could be used or
yes, and
size proportions.
if the there's a budget constraint, you don't have to stage every room. Maybe it's the main room, the main bedroom, and the dining, and then the other bedrooms can be just empty or so I think you can kind of pare it down if you need to and do what you need, as much as you can afford to do, I guess.
Well, every house that I've ever suggested that we have staged has sold over the cost of the staging.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's a lot to be said about that. And I think it's a lot to be said about, when people walk in, if they get emotionally attached to it, they're willing to pay for it, right?
Right.
Yeah. If they start seeing everything that's wrong with it, they're going to say, "Oh, cha-ching, we're going to take off for this or take off for that," or if they can't, they lose that emotional connection, then they're going to start nitpicking a little bit more. So, and I do know in this market, one of the things that we've said all the time is one of the things that that the good houses, the ones that show nice, are selling a lot faster than the ones that don't. And the ones that don't are having to offer things like closing costs or things like that because they have things that, are not perfect in their house and they're having to sacrifice and do that. So I can definitely see where staging could get somebody more money for their house in the long run.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, this has been fun, guys.
God, it goes too quick.
It does. already 45 minutes in. But yeah, is there anything else that you want to add, Jill, that you think?
I don't think so.
Pretty much covered most of it.
Yeah, I think so. I had one other thing you could do just resource wise is HGTV. We talked about that a little bit, but you have to be a little bit careful about understanding that it's TV and not real life.
Yeah. I'm gonna get that $200,000 mansion on HGTV.
Yeah, I'm gonna rehab it in a weekend.
That's right, or at least in an hour.
The other website I really like is houzz.com, HOUZZ, and it's a website where you can just look at. There's hundreds of thousands of photographs of different types of homes. If you don't know, if you want to try to do some staging yourself, but you don't know how a room should really come together, that would be a great resource. You can put in family rooms with brick fireplace and beige walls, and it will bring up all these professionally photographed rooms.
Yeah. I actually used that one when I was looking at designing mine, and what it actually made me do is as I was looking at the pictures, I realized what my style was called. Whether it's
what is it? Well, you're farmhouse style, aren't you?
It's a contemporary farmhouse. More like a contemporary farmhouse. Yeah, but I wouldn't know how to explain it, and then I started using that, and then all of a sudden you get this is this style. So you start to realize what your style is and what your like is, which I thought was really neat, especially when you're doing it on your own, and you can save the pictures into a folder. And so I like that app. That was a good one.
Yeah, it's a great resource. So.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Oh, my pleasure. Our pleasure.
And I can't wait to see your house, Crystal.
Yes, you're going to see it soon.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, it has been a pleasure, and I look forward to the next podcast. And thanks for joining us, Jill.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Coffee and Keys is brought to you by Darlene Kemp, VP, Senior Loan Officer, NMLS ID 173897. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, LLC is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 643114. www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. And Crystal Jacques, Realtor for both RE/MAX Allegiance, 4000 Virginia Beach Boulevard, Suite 164, Virginia Beach, Virginia 23452. Office phone 757-490-7300 and RE/MAX Professionals, 20,241 North 67th Avenue, Suite A1 Glendale, Arizona 85308. Office phone 623-362-3000. Each office is independently owned and operated and supports the Fair Housing Act and Equal Opportunity Housing.